Keep moving forward, right arrow. The bus window was dirty, smeared with dust and fingerprints, but through it Daniel could still make out the skyline of Chicago shrinking in the distance. His backpack sat heavy on his lap, not because of what was inside: 2 shirts, a pair of jeans, and a folded photograph of his mother, but because of what it meant. It was all he had left. He pressed his forehead against the cool glass, closing his eyes as the bus rumbled along the interstate. A voice inside him kept whispering the same thing his father used to say before he died: "Son, no matter what life throws at you, keep moving forward." But Daniel didn't know if he could anymore. Chapter 1: The Weight of the Past. 3 weeks earlier, Daniel had been standing in front of a judge. He wasn't the one in trouble, his younger brother, Miguel, was. Miguel had been caught breaking into a pawn shop. It wasn't the first time. Their mother cried silently in the courtroom, her hands clutching the rosary that had once belonged to their grandmother. Miguel had looked at Daniel with eyes full of shame, as if begging for rescue. But there was nothing Daniel could do. The system had chewed them up their whole lives, and now it was swallowing Miguel whole. When the judge announced a sentence of 3 years in juvenile detention, something inside Daniel cracked. His brother was 16. Just a kid. Afterward, Miguel leaned toward him and whispered, "Don't let them win, Danny. Keep moving forward." Those were the last words they shared before the guards led him away. Chapter 2: Starting Over. Daniel was 22, barely holding onto a part-time job at a construction site. His boss, a wiry man named Jenkins, liked to remind him that people like Daniel were replaceable. The paychecks were late more often than not, but quitting wasn't an option. Rent had to be paid. His mother's medical bills didn't wait. One night, after an exhausting 12-hour shift, Daniel came home to find his mother sitting at the kitchen table. She looked frail, her face pale from the chemo. "You can't carry this alone, my Joe," she said softly. "Promise me you'll keep moving forward. For yourself. Not just for us." Daniel nodded, though he wasn't sure what forward even meant anymore. Chapter 3: The Breaking Point. 2 days later, disaster struck. Jenkins fired him without warning, claiming there wasn't enough work. Daniel knew it was because he had spoken up about unsafe conditions. He walked out of the site with his hard hat under his arm, fury boiling inside him. By the time he got home, eviction papers were taped to their apartment door. That night, sitting on the steps of their building, Daniel stared at the city lights. It felt like the world was closing in. For a moment, he thought about doing something reckless, joining the same guys Miguel had fallen in with, the ones who promised easy money. But then he remembered his brother's voice. "Don't let them win." Chapter 4: A Stranger's Kindness. With nowhere else to turn, Daniel boarded a bus heading south, looking for work in another city. That's where he found himself staring out the dirty window, clutching his backpack. At the next stop, an older man in a faded army jacket sat beside him. His hands were calloused, his hair silver. He noticed Daniel's clenched fists. "Tough day?" the man asked. Daniel hesitated, then nodded. "I buried my wife last year," the stranger said after a pause. 43 years together. Some days, I didn't think I'd make it to the next morning. But you know what got me through?" Daniel looked at him, curious. The man tapped the patch on his jacket. It read, "U.S. Marines." 3 words: keep moving forward. Doesn't matter how slow. Doesn't matter if you crawl. Just don't stop. The words hit Daniel like lightning. It was as if fate itself had planted this man in his path. Chapter 5, New Roads. The bus eventually dropped Daniel off in St. Louis. He didn't know anyone there, but he carried a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in months. He walked into a diner the next morning, asking the owner if they needed help. The woman behind the counter, a tough, no-nonsense widow named Gloria, looked him up and down. "You can wash dishes. Pay's terrible, ours are worse. You want it?" Daniel smiled. "I'll take it." Days turned into weeks. The work was grueling, but he started to feel something he hadn't felt in a long time: dignity. Gloria eventually offered him a cot in the storage room, sparing him from sleeping on the streets. At night, Daniel wrote letters to Miguel, telling him about the city, about the customers at the diner, about Gloria's sarcastic humor. He always ended with the same words: "We'll get through this. Keep moving forward." Chapter 6, The Test. One rainy night, just as Daniel was locking up the diner, two men came in. They were drunk, angry, demanding food after closing. When Daniel politely refused, one of them pulled a knife. For a split second, fear paralyzed him. Memories of his brother's gang, of the nights filled with sirens and gunshots, rushed back. He could have run. He could have stayed silent. But he didn't. Instead, Daniel stood tall, his voice steady. "Put the knife down. This isn't the way." The man cursed, lunging forward, but before things escalated, Gloria appeared with a shotgun in her hands. The men fled into the rain, leaving Daniel shaking but unbroken. Gloria gave him a long look. "You've got fire in you, kid. Don't waste it." Chapter 7, Redemption. Months passed. Daniel saved every dollar he could. He started taking night classes at a community college, studying criminal justice. He wanted to understand the system that had swallowed his brother and maybe one day, change it. On the day Miguel was finally released, Daniel was waiting at the bus station. His brother stepped off, taller but thinner, his eyes harder. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then Daniel pulled out the photo of their mother, worn from years of being carried. "She always believed in us," Daniel said, voice breaking. "Now it's our turn to believe in each other." Miguel nodded slowly. "So what do we do now?" Daniel put a hand on his brother's shoulder. "We keep moving forward. Together." Epilogue. Years later, Daniel stood in front of a classroom, teaching criminal justice to a group of young students, many of them kids who looked just like him and Miguel once did. His brother was sitting in the back, helping tutor others who had stumbled. The road had been brutal, full of dead ends and heartbreak. But step by step, choice by choice, they had moved forward. And in the quiet moments, when the weight of the past threatened to pull him under, Daniel could still hear the voices that had carried him through: his father, his mother, the Marine on the bus, Gloria with her shotgun. They had all given him the same gift, the strength to keep moving forward.